We are through the first full week of baseball, and on this fifth episode of Leading Off, ESPO and I are going to talk about the week that was opening week of Major League Baseball. Then we're going to have some fun and create an all-time lineup like none other. The all-time swag team in baseball. Yeah, swag. SWAG. We talk about the coolest, the flashiest, the stylish, and much more tonight on Leading Off. If I can get my fucking theme song to work. And we are live. This is the fifth episode of Leading Off, live from Studio 69 in New Jersey and REM Studio in Staten Island, New York, airing exclusively on Twitch and powered by StreamYard. And welcome back to the show on this Monday, April the 12th, 2021. I am your host, Rich Rivera, and I'm being joined by the ham to my burger, my co-host as always, ESPO.
Thank you, Rich. What a lovely introduction, one that I was not expecting, but as always, it is a pleasure to be here on Leading Off, joining you. Funny you mentioned the week that was in baseball, because for my guys, it seemed like the week that wasn't.
I mean, we're talking about how many games the Mets have played, and forget about not games that were scheduled. I mean, it's insane that the Mets haven't played as much. Like, if you have these guys in a 13-run pool, I feel so sorry for you. The guys haven't played any fucking games.
You're in trouble. Well, if you had the Mets in a 13-run pool, you'd be in trouble anyway because they're not scoring. But yeah, I mean, between the COVID and the Nationals and Mother Nature and the rain, it's been a rough go of it for the New York Mets, and that's not even counting the on-field product we've been seeing. But I digress. You know, at least your Yankees are sticking around and playing well. You know, sticking around. What am I saying? It's April. Of course, they're going to be sticking around.
I mean, the Pirates are sticking around, and I love to bully the Pirates on this show for no reason. The Pirates have never did anything wrong to me. The Yinzers have never did anything wrong by me. So, yeah, the Yankees are sticking around like the other 29 teams in baseball. They have some ball, actually, that's happening soon. 5 minutes start time in Dunedin, the Blue Jays' new temporary home, because obviously the Blue Jays cannot play in Toronto, Ontario. So the Yankees travel down to Florida. Well, they stay in Florida, rather, because they just play their series against Tampa Bay. You got Garrett Cole on the mound and the returning and debuting Robbie Ray for the Jays tonight.
Robbie Ray, I have a close eye on that game. My fantasy team, he is a new addition to the squad, dynasty, that is. I'm hoping he can bounce back, but you know, it's been an up and down career for Mr. Ray, and mostly it's been down in the last few years. But they signed him with the expectation that, you know, if he stays healthy, he can be very effective for them at the top of the rotation. So, you know, if he can, you know, knock on wood, if you're a Blue Jays fan, do that, then they've got themselves a potential ace.
But,
yeah, 100%. He's going up against a tough one in Cole.
Yeah, tonight. Robbie was one of those weird ones to pick up in fantasy. He was very hit or miss, but like he was also like a spot start king. He was always a guy who'd sit in free agency in my league and always be picked up and hoard around by the entire league. All the owners would just look at this guy like he had stilettos and he was just playing baseball on street corners late at night. But Robbie Ray making his debut with Toronto tonight, so we'll see what happens in about 3 minutes here on the East Coast as the Yankees and Jays are about to take the field.
Make sure he's in my lineup, Rich. I got to just do that real quick, if you don't mind. That would be bad. But if I talked about it, I'm going to promote the usage of fantasy baseball here.
Okay.
As I'm sure most of our viewers here are avid fantasy baseballers. Okay, he is in. I hope he does not get lit up, but proceed.
Proceed. We're going to proceed over to Ducks on the Pond, where, of course, the bases are loaded with all the MLB news and notes. We hit our three major news topics, and we're going to start it off with one that happened over the week. So obviously it's not really much news if you're a huge baseball fan or any sort of sports fan, but the first no-hitter of the 2021 MLB season was thrown. Joe Musgrove, one of the newest San Diego Padres, picked up by their all-star of an offseason that they had. Musgrove, arguably a sabermetrics darling and somebody who many people were waiting for him to kind of put it all together. This could be the season. 2 starts in, Musgrove has looked phenomenal. And of course, topping his last start with a no-hitter against the Texas Rangers.
I mean, you really couldn't write it better for the Padres and Musgrove. This is a guy who grew up in the area, San Diego native, and to be the one to throw the first no-hitter in the history of the franchise is just, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that. I had the pleasure of watching the last few innings, and man, they were intense. The pitch count never really was a concern, which was good because I was worried that was going to be a factor, because it is April and you don't want to force the issue with, your starting pitcher so early. It's a long season, and especially for a contending team like the Padres. But, he was able to ride through and made it.
I mean, it's really hilarious. Ever since the Fernando Tatis unwritten rule grand slam against Texas Rangers, of how much San Diego has owned this team over the last year.
Right.
It's
like
hilarious.
The Tatis curse or something.
The Tatis curse continuing. And of course, speaking of Tatis, cover athlete of MLB The Show 21. We're going to get into video games next week, but I'll talk about that later. And we're going to have also a fun segment later tonight, that Fernando Tatis might be a part of when we talk about our most flashiest, our most stylish, our coolest player when we talk about our all-swag team later on tonight. But congratulations to Joe Musgrove on his no-hitter in this very, very young 2021 season. All right, moving on to some injury notes. So not so much good news for some other teams here. Start off with the Mets. J.D. Davis landing on the IL, left-hand contusion. He was plunked on the hand in one of the most recent games that, unbelievably enough, the Mets had played. I mean, it's funny that one of the only games the Mets played, they lose their starting third baseman there. So how impactful is that to the Mets team right now with Davis going on the mend?
It's not good, Rich. It's not good. I'll tell you that. J.D. Davis, we know what he can do for this team offensively. Last year was kind of a down season for him. He was a bit banged up, so it is unfortunate that this early on in the year, he is finding himself back on the IL before he even has a chance to get going. I mean, I'm not even going to say he looks good or bad. I mean, it was only, 3 games, so I can't even get really a sample size on him. But it's a tough loss for the Mets. I mean, defensively, he's kind of a liability, but the bat is very much not a liability, so he will be sorely missed. But in the meantime, we'll have to cover with the likes of Luis Guillorme at third base.
Or Jonathan Villar as well, who's eligible.
Right. Yeah, he's got some flexibility.
And that was kind of the plus of that offseason where the Mets kind of filled up on their bench spots, and they did a good job there. They recognize, hey, like any team in baseball should really recognize, it's a long season. Anybody can get hurt at any time. Anybody can step up and be the next man up. They brought on some veteran guys, and VR being one of them, and Kevin Pillar and Alberto Amaro Jr., guys who might not be in the starting lineup all the time, but these guys are going to be depth pieces that are going to help you out in the long run. So maybe we'll see that impact from Villar early. Guillorme, who's a known great defender for the Mets as well. So hopefully Davis is back shortly because, there's a big year for J.D. Davis. He was literally handed the keys to that position at third base. He was kind of blocked over the last couple seasons, but now we're going to finally see a full season of J.D. Davis who could mash. Obviously a little struggling with the glove, but it is a tough loss for the Mets regardless. Anyway, some other injury notes, a couple of Tommy John recommendations and some confirmations there. James Paxton, the former Yankees lefty, already. Shocker, right? Exactly. Allergies. I know it's bad. April. I know. What are you drinking today? We're finally back on the beers, man.
Back on the beer grind. It was had a fun last couple of weekends. So
what are you drinking there? Life of ESPO? What is that?
The Life of ESPO. Yeah, I have my own beer now. No, this is Lord Hobo Brewing Company based out of New England. Got a good little IPA here. So,
well, we're gonna pour it out. We're gonna pour it out for James Paxton because this poor guy can't catch a break. Recommended for Tommy John surgery and most likely done for the season and probably won't see him, for most of the 2022 season if he does undergo TJ. Jonathan Hernandez, no relation to the Jonathan Hernandez who has joined us in the chat and who my friends are going to comment about shortly on Twitch. Also, Tommy John surgery for him. And Dexter Fowler, who recent pickup for the Angels, tore his ACL. So some tough losses for these teams right out the gate. It's been tough. I mean, it's crazy. Almost every team seems to find another big player on the IL. It's insane.
It's a war of attrition, man. Just like you said earlier, you can never have enough depth. It is a long season, and it's imperative to just stack your team at all positions because you're going to lose guys. That's it.
Yeah. Simple as that. I mean, if and obviously in Yankee Nation, we know that more than anybody. And having a huge depth piece, huge bench, more depth, like nothing is wrong with having a bunch of players that can take on multiple roles. And the Yankees are already feeling it a little bit early, but yeah, it's a tough spot when you're expected to do so much with certain guys, and then right out the gate, not even second week into the season, you're losing a significant player. So tough loss for those guys. But let's finish off Ducks in the Pond with some controversy that happened last night on Sunday Night Baseball, ESPN. It was the Braves and the Phillies, and a very close, crazy play at the plate. Ball was launched, well, not launched, but it was a pop fly out the left field. You have the runner at third base, Alec Bohm of the Phillies. Tag up play. Ozuna chucks him from left field. There was a few bounces to the plate. Darno seemed like he had the block on. Bohm was called safe at the plate. And after some replays, it looked like he was out. Looked like he didn't really get the plate. At least just from my perspective. I don't know about yours, ESPO. The umpires ended up not turning over the call. They kept the call as is. And of course, the Phillies went on to win last night's game. What was your take from that play last night? And what is your overall scope of instant replay in baseball?
Well, I have to admit, Rich, I do not have perfect 20/20 vision, but even trying to think of who the most blind person on earth is. I don't know. I'm not going to go down that road. Anyways, you'd have to be a fool to call that man safe on that play. He didn't touch the bag at all, or touch home plate at all. And even after review, multiple angles seem to confirm that. So for New York to just not get that play right at such a crucial element of the game, I mean, that basically gives the Phillies the game there. If they get the out there, then the Braves go to the bottom of the ninth tied, and who knows, maybe they walk it off. But it just seems like, the state of replay in general is failing. I don't know. I mean, there's just so many crucial calls that they seem to miss, and we have the technology. Why don't we get it right? It seems like too simple of an answer, but I don't know.
And I feel most of the time they do get the play right, whether it was called incorrectly on the field and overturned. But I look at a situation like last night, and then the error that we're playing in baseball with COVID and trying to minimize the amount of time spent on the field. You kind of wonder, was there an agenda to maybe get both teams off the field at ASAP, even if it meant keeping the incorrect call on the field?
Man, I hope not, but I really wouldn't put it past Rob Manfred to do some sort of shiesty activities like that. But then again, sorry, I had to take a sip. I do not like the Phillies nor the Braves, so I can't say I was too sad to see the Braves get screwed off the call. But
right.
I'm
this
biased.
Is a non-issue. This is a non-issue for the life of ESPO. But of course, we always want to see the call.
It's only a matter of time before the Mets are involved in some sort of controversial play. So all I ask is that they get it right. Integrity, man.
I am in agreement with you 100%, and we're going to talk more about these controversial plays as it happens throughout the season. Obviously, I love getting that reaction from you, so we're going to move along, though. And before we move on to our fun segment, the all-time lineup, where we're going to rate the best players who've ever played the game but did it with the most style. You can also listen to my other podcast, which is going to be on later tonight. It's called Savages in the Bronx. It's ESPO's favorite podcast because we only talk about the Yankees. With me and my co-host, Tom Waspel, going to be on later tonight, right here on Twitch, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. You can follow at Savages Bronx on Twitter. So, again, if you're a huge Yankee fan, it's a great show to check out. But if you're a baseball fan, you just like baseball, and you just want to chill for another half hour with me, come aboard. 8 p.m. in about, 45 minutes here on the East Coast? So, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. All right, let's move on. All-time lineups. We're going to talk about team swag. So, this is the first time we're going to be banging out this segment on leading off, where ESPO and I are actually going to collaborate and create a team and a lineup based on a certain topic. So this is going to be the first of many. So we started off with a fun one. Obviously, as I mentioned before, Fernando Tatis Jr. is the cover star of MLB The Show 21. And it's going to be fun talking about video games next week on the show. But I'll get into the more details on that later on. But Fernando Tatis Jr., I would say, is probably the flashiest player in the game today, but I wonder how it bones up to some all-time shortstops and other players over time. So we made this team together, ESPO. It was a lot of fun doing it. So I'm going to start it off. We'll go position by position here. Start off at first base. And by the way, if you're on Twitch and following us and checking in, we thank you so much. So obviously, we love to see your suggestions and recommendations for who do you think has the most swag. And this is an all-time team. So the most coolest, the stylish, the flashiest, however you want to define swag, that's what swag is. So team swag. At first base, I have Big Papi, David Ortiz. And yes, David Ortiz is a designated hitter. He's going to go into the Hall of Fame one day. But David Ortiz, for this team, I wanted to play with the flexibility of, hey, he can play first base. I had some other guys I was thinking of, but I love Big Papi for the spot. Had a great drip game, had a great home run trot. People loved him. And that's what was that famous line he said in Boston that one time?
I'll never forget it. This is what sealed it for me. In the first game back, preceding the Boston bombing, Big Papi says to all the fans at the game, "This is all." Oh, I don't want to say it in my voice. I'm going to try and say it in his voice, but I'm going to be terrible. "This is our fucking city."
Love it.
Something like that.
Love it. Love it.
But they did not get an FCC violation for that. That's how cool Big Papi was. FCC, let him slide.
Big Papi, David Ortiz for first base. ESPO, who do we have at second?
At second base, we got that dude, Brandon Phillips. This is one we were both in agreement on from the get-go. I mean, just one of the coolest players both of us watched growing up with both Ohio teams. Indians for a little bit, but mostly with the Reds. And I think what's most memorable about Brandon Phillips was those backhand tosses to second base.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Those were filthy.
Between the legs, behind the back. I mean, he was phenomenal. And arguably to me, I think, at least growing up and watching baseball, and I've been watching baseball, honestly, for that long, believe it or not, I can't say I was born and raised into baseball. I probably started watching baseball in the early 2000s. Brandon Phillips, to me, was the best defensive second baseman I've ever seen play the game.
Oh, yeah.
He was so cool doing everything he did. So, obviously, for me, he was a must on this team. Third base, Mike Schmidt.
Schmitter.
Schmidt, listen, maybe not the most drip game, not maybe the biggest home run trotted guy. There were some guys up there like, the Manny Machados of the world and Alex Rodriguez and Adrian Beltre who's had it. But I love the Mike Schmidt pick. And I know that was a guy that you were pushing for this team. I love how he basically made that position a cool position to play. I love the Schmidt pick there, Espo.
Right. And I know you mentioned the likes of the Machados and the A-Rods of the world, sort of more modern guys, but Mike Schmidt, he was old school cool, man. I mean, I wish we could put a picture of him up, but he had the sideburns, he had the curly hair popping out of the helmet, but I mean, man, he revolutionized the position.
That was 80s style right there. Loved it.
Yeah.
Shortstop.
Oh, you got this one?
I'm gonna. All right, I'll take this one. I was gonna toss the ball to you, but Ozzie Smith.
I'm taking it, Rich. I'm taking
all right,
it.
You take it.
Maybe it's it.
All right, you can steal it. Go for it.
At shortstop, we have a wizard, Mr. Ozzie Smith, the Wizard of Oz. He was the OG of cool shortstops. Probably the coolest position to play in the game now. Seems like most of the guys that are the coolest in the game are playing shortstop, but Ozzie Smith was the first to do it, man. And I mean, what else can you say about the guy? The backflips, and you know what? An underrated aspect of Ozzie Smith was how cool he made that Cardinals uniform look.
Oh yes, the power.
Talk about drip.
Absolutely, and I think you said it best. The shortstop position, I would say, is definitely the coolest position to play. And I think every kid who wants to get into Little League, they're like, damn, I want to be Jeter, I want to be Tatis, I want to be Javier Baez. Those are guys right there that just brought style to that shortstop position. Even Jose Reyes. Jose Reyes was flashy as hell. But
I hated him, but Jimmy Rollins, man, that guy had swagger.
Yeah. So I think, for argument's sake, and you guys can challenge me in the chat, I think the position that personifies swag and cool factor is shortstop. So yeah, great pick there, Ozzie Smith. Left field, the stolen base champion himself, or stolen base king rather, Ricky Henderson. Got to be Ricky Henderson. I'm thinking about the home run trots. Those wide turns he would take around first base, how he would to stare. He was fantastic.
He was about the jewelry, baby.
He was another one of our definite lock-in picks for this team, Espo, that we had no quarrels about. Ricky Henderson, left field.
Listen, any man that refers to himself in the third person has an unlimited amount of swagger, and that's all I have to say about that.
I love it. But who we got in center field, Alex? Who's Alex? Espo.
We got center field. Probably, I can't think of a person in the history of the game with more swagger than this individual, Mr. Ken Griffey Jr.
Mm-hmm.
The kid. He's an icon. The backwards hat. That's just such a look, and he made it. He made it his. He's just. I'm running out of words for what to say about him because he's just honestly growing up one of the coolest guys I ever watched. Playing baseball, video games, one of the coolest guys to play with.
Yep.
Just everything he did, you just wanted to be like Ken Griffey Jr.
Ken Griffey Jr., without a doubt, had the best finish of a home run, especially something about the lefties just make the home run look so much prettier. I guess maybe it's because they're basically walking their way. It's like almost like it's
golfing it.
To hit a home run as a lefty and then continue your walk to first base. But Griffey did it the best. And there's another guy, like there's a few that are definitely honorable mentions that I think of like that similar swing, like guys like Robinson Cano and guys like Carlos Gonzalez, who had that perfect like left-handed, that ball's fucking gone, walk to first base. But Griffey was the epitome of that. In right field, you got Sammy Sosa. Yeah, a little controversy you're going to stir up here. You're going to get some steroid guys in here. Sammy Sosa, who, again, probably one of the best finishes from the right-handed side of hitting a home run. The Luke, I can't even call it the Luke Voit jump. Luke Voit's got the Sammy Sosa jump. I mean, that's where it got.
Come on, man.
Sammy Sosa, right field.
Sammy Sosa, another one of the OGs. I mean, just the late '90s between him and McGuire. McGuire is also another guy who deserves some recognition for his swagger. I mean, just that 1998 race, just every night, just tuning in and watching them. But just Sammy the player was just one of a kind. And yes, maybe he was aided and abetted by some other substances, but he was just can't miss television. You just whenever he was at bat, you had to see it.
Yeah, 100%. ESPO, who do we have behind the plate?
Behind the plate? Oh, why are you making me do this, Rich?
Well, in the chat, I see a lot of support for Gary Carter. I'm trying to see if there's any others out here that people are suggesting, but I do see Gary Carter for behind the plate. But who do you got?
God damn it, Rich! I'll say it. Yadier Molina.
Oh yes.
So much, but God damn it, he's got swagger. He's definitely one of the coolest guys to ever play the position. You don't want to mess with him. He's pretty badass. I think Nick Castellanos had a pretty great quote the other week about that brawl.
Yes.
He could punch me in the face, and I'd still ask him for an autograph. That's not swagger. I don't know what is.
You know what? And when we went with this catcher position, and I was really pushing for Yadier because I just love Yadier as a catcher myself. I had to go with him. And I was thinking about that Castellanos comment. I was like, yeah, this guy's an OG. He's gonna be a Hall of Famer. You got to go Yadier Molina here. Designated hitter, which is more of a flex position. I didn't want to go specifically to guys who've only been a DH, or otherwise I just would have went with Poppy, who's our first baseman here. Barry Bonds. We went Barry Bonds here. I thought this was a great pick for the two of us. And yep, you can pull the thick needle out. But yes, Barry Bonds, I feel like as far as swag goes, he had, again, great jewelry on. I mean, the beautiful left-handed home run swing. A guy who, listen, he made the game as cool as it could possibly be with that home run chase in the late 90s, early 2000s. Barry Bonds, DH.
Hell yeah. You said it all, Rich, but I'll say one more thing. Kanye West has not written any songs about any other guys on this list besides Barry Bonds. So
that is correct.
Leaving it at that.
Espo, why don't you give us the starting pitcher and closing pitcher while we're running out of time here?
Starting pitcher. But of course, my friend, we're going to go with Pedro Martinez. Who's your daddy? Mm-hmm. I mean, he's one of the coolest guys to ever do it. Just calm and collected, and the flowing hair was so beautiful. Those late 90s years with Boston, just unstoppable. But
and coming out of the bullpen, this was a tough one. We had a few guys to mention. You know, Francisco Rodriguez was a great one. You know, Mariano Rivera, just because of the class. But I was looking for more swag, something crazy. Now I saw Brian Wilson as an option. Love Brian Wilson. He's a sick fuck. But I went with somebody, again, back to swag. I was thinking, like, again, who made it look kind of cool, even if he wasn't the best. But yes, Espo's tipping his cap the sideways because our guy is Fernando Rodney, and that's team swag. And I even put a lineup together right there. Leading off, Ricky Henderson in left field. We got Mike Schmidt batting second and third, then Ken Griffey Jr. Batting third, center field, we have Barry Bonds. Cleaning up at DH, Sammy Sosa in right field, batting 5th. Big Poppy at first base this time. He's batting 6th. You got Yadier Molina batting 7th. He's behind the plate. Brandon Phillips at second base. That dude batting 8th there. And batting 9th, the Hall of Fame shortstop Ozzie Smith. We got a nice split there. And of course, Pedro and Fernando Rodney is our pitching depth here on Team Swag. And that is it.
Who's your manager, Rich? We almost forgot.
Oh, our manager. See, okay. My manager, if I had to, I would say Ozzie Guillen.
Okay.
But I know you had a great pick.
The man who just didn't give a fuck, Earl Weaver.
That is, yeah, I love the Earl Weaver pick. But you know what? Actually, fuck both of them. I have a great pick. And I have, like, baseball's almost first manager. The guy who emphasized what swag should be. And honestly, if I was a manager nowadays, I would probably epitomize what he did.
Oh, I know who.
Not Pat King himself, Connie Mack. I think Connie Mack's got the most amount of swag. Even if it's in black and white, I don't care. I'm going Connie Mack as my manager. Team swag. Pure class. Pure class. We have a lot of comments in the chats going on. I don't want to let it go unacknowledged here. John Rocker for closer. That's a great pick there. Dennis Eckersley as well. Of course, can't forget the mustache. Al Herboski, the mad Hungarian of the Cardinals. Great pick there. Cool. Billy Martin as a managerial pick from Expert FME. That's a fantastic pick right there. So I love the suggestions, guys. That's Team Swag. I would love to see your Team Swag. You can tweet us your own personal Team Swag on Twitter at Loft Podcast. It's at LOft Podcast. You can follow ESPO at
The Life of ESPO.
And you can follow me at Rich J. Rivera. So that's Team Swag, buddy. So I think we did a decent job, of course. I'm curious to see some of these other suggestions as they keep spilling into the Twitch chat. But yeah, man, good work here on the all-time lineups. I'm looking forward to some more future all-time lineups with the man himself, ESPO.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. All right, let's take a breath here because that was a lot. We're going to move on to our final segment of the night as we have about 3 minutes left of showtime. It's a new segment. It's called Oh Player, Where Art Thou? I mean, the segment's name is going to be TBD, but it is a fun segment that's going to not only involve ESPO, it's going to involve all of you who are viewing us on Twitch. So if you're listening and watching us on Twitch, we definitely want to see your participation here because this is a little game that I've come up with here where basically I'm going to rattle off 5 different players. 5 different players that are active in the game, but are definitely as obscure can be. These are guys that probably will not be on anybody's fantasy team. And if they are on your fantasy team, it must be because it must have like 50 players on the team. But let's test your expertise, everybody, especially my co-host here. So I'm just going to name a player, and you're just going to name the team that he's playing for. And hopefully, Google's put to the side. This is just off the straight knowledge of the game. So we're going to start it off here with a former Met who's not with the Mets, obviously, Kevin Plawecki.
Kevin Plawecki. He's still catching, huh? Good for him.
He is. Let's take a look at the comments, man.
I know he was with the Indians, but I don't think he's still with them.
So what team
you know what? No, he's with Boston. He's with Boston, Richard.
Boston, that is correct. Great job.
I remember they played last year.
And hey, I think Expert FMB got it. Like Corey Faz got it. All right, so one's across the board. Very good, guys. Moving on to the next one. Matt Whistler.
Matt Whistler. Relief pitcher. Matt Whistler, where the hell are you? Give me a hint, Rich. Come on. Give me a little hint.
I can't give you a hint. That's not part of the game, man. You just got to go with it.
I'm going to guess he is on the Twins?
Used to be on the Twins. It is actually the San Francisco Giants.
Okay. All right.
All right. We got Jose De Leon.
Oh, man. These are tough, Rich. You're stumping even me on these. Jose De Leon.
Astros. Cardinals is incorrect.
Let's
see if anybody else.
De Leon on the Cardinals.
2, 1, nobody. Cincinnati Reds. Jose De Leon, relief pitcher there. Next, we got Ty France.
Oh, Ty France. This is a lock, Rich. Second baseman, Seattle Mariners. He's my
Third
boy.
base. Regardless, got it right. Seattle Mariners, Ty France. Good job, Espo.
Got him in
And
the
the
fantasy
last one,
squad.
Nicky Lopez.
Nicky Lopez. Rich, are you just making up names? I'm going to be honest with you, because I consider myself quite a knowledgeable person when it comes to players, but to quote the great Conor McGregor, who the fuck is that guy?
Who the fuck is that guy?
I'm sorry, Rich.
That guy is the second baseman of the Kansas City Royals, Nicky Lopez.
Wow.
So,
You got me good on this one, Rich.
but hey, listen, Espo, you did well because you got 2, which is most than everybody else. So you won. Congratulations. Good job. This is why you're my co-host, because you know baseball. Fantastic. Give yourself
I'm
a nice
getting you back next week, though. You're going 0 for 5, buddy.
Oh, you want this next week, huh? Wear it down.
Oh, I want the smoke. Right. I want the smoke.
I'm down. I'm down for it, buddy. Can't wait for it to happen. While we send each other off for the night because our show has come to an unfortunate end. So we'll see you all here next Monday, where I've mentioned before, we're talking about baseball video games. We're going to talk about best video game series with our upcoming guest, friend of the program, Joe Puglisi. You follow at JR Pugs on Twitter. He's a huge Diamond Dynasty MLB The Show guy. And why not bring in a guy who's going to talk video games on the night before MLB The Show 21 drops to Xbox and PlayStation? So I think it's a perfect topic to bring up some video games and talk about some of the greatest video game series of all time. So, of course, if you're joining us next week, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time, right here on Twitch, live. And, of course, that's going to do it for our show. We thank you so much for joining. Espo, for, of course, being a great sport. Espo, anybody you want to thank before we let you all go?
I'd like to thank the parents for tuning in. I know they've been diligently listening along. So you guys are the best, and make me some chicken parm soon.
Yes, make the kid Espo some Sunday sauce on a Tuesday tomorrow, please, just for the hell of it, unless you haven't had dinner already. Whatever. We'll see you here next week, guys. Have a good one. Enjoy some baseball for the next 7 days, and